Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm finally back. I've just had a good winter and I feel like I'm blooming with the rest of everything around. I must have dozed off for a bit, but with all this green coming up and out of the ground, I feel like I'm back. So hopefully I'm not as few and far between from here on out. But I've done some fun things, and I really want to show you guys what I've just accomplished. So, here behind me, I have a pile of logs. And in this pile of logs, I have mushrooms. I have somewhere around 2,400 plug spawn of five different types of mushrooms. And this is one of the fun experiments that I'm going to try this year. I'll tell you a little bit of a story, and I might play a few of the clips of putting it together as I go. So as I'm clearing things out around the house for the various buildings and things that we want to have on our homestead, on our place, I've been trying to come up with what to do to make use of all the wood. Firewood, it seems like a waste if I'm not actually using it for firewood. And mushrooms grow naturally well here in this environment without a lot of extra help. And it's always been intriguing to me to use the trees for that as well as other things. So I used the larger diameter trees that are somewhere between 8 and 6 inches, 4 and 8 inches. And I cut them into 3.5 foot lengths, and alder. These are all alder trees, and the varieties of mushrooms that I picked seem to grow well in alder. Alder is one that the mushroom can grow fast in these particular varieties, right? From what I understand too, I'm talking like I know what I'm talking about, but this is what I've learned from the people that actually do this all the time. That alder is a very good environment for mushrooms to grow quickly in. And good mushrooms can grow in bigger logs of different varieties of trees, and it takes them a little longer to grow. And if I understand it right, they will produce more mushrooms in those other varieties. Alder, on the other hand, the mushrooms grow quickly, you'll have a crop sooner, and if I understand it right, we may not have as many crop cycles of mushrooms off these alder trees. The actual process of installing the plugs is straightforward, but it was still a pretty good workout. I drilled holes that were 1.25 inches deep, and I basically hammered the plug in, right? Tried a few different mallets. They recommend a rubber mallet, but I found that my wooden mallet worked better for me. So my family and I got together and did a lot of plugging away. Inserting the plugs flush is important because then you can coat it with a layer of wax. It needs to be a food grade wax, and I don't remember which one I bought. I literally shopped for the least expensive food grade wax, and it ended up being something other than beeswax. That's all I remember. Should have looked at that before I recorded this video. But it doesn't really matter. I just melted down this wax and painted it on over the holes. The idea is to block out all of the other stray mushroom spores that are floating around everywhere, because this environment is ripe with spores. Like I said before, I did 5 different varieties of mushrooms. The 2 that I did the most of were the shiitake mushrooms and the blue oyster mushrooms. Maybe I'll produce enough of those to sell. we'll see. And then I did 100 plug. Well, I did 1,000 plugs of each of those, and then I did 100 plugs of each maitake, turkey tail, and pearl oyster. I'm curious about those. The pearl oyster just looked fun. I want to taste it, see if it tastes good. The maitake mushrooms and the turkey tail are supposed to be more of a medicinal mushroom and maybe a little more high dollar if I were to be able to produce them and sell them than the shiitake and the blue oyster. So, just giving them a try. We'll see what happens, right? All a big experiment. If it goes well, it'll go really well, and I'll just expand maybe another side business for making a little money. If it doesn't go very well, my family will have plenty of mushrooms. Included with the millions of mushrooms that grow naturally here. So after inoculating everything, I've stood them all in these ricks. Now the two big piles, of course, are the blue oyster and the shiitake mushrooms. I didn't know how to do the other smaller batches any differently. The idea is to stack them close together to help conserve as much moisture as possible. I have them up off the ground, so less chance of contamination from everything outside, right? You know, in about 6 months I'm going to check these to see how the mycelia is spread through the logs. And if it looks like everything's going well, then I'll stand them up in a different style. Of course, just the 2 logs, everything that are only 100 spawn, I can't do much with. So they'll just be the way they are. I have a little kitty cat that's wanting to be part of this video. Anyway, oh no, don't climb up my leg now. Come on. Get back down, you. I'm not sure I wanted a cat climbing up on top of me right now. Anyway, but the bigger batches, I'm going to stand up kind of log cabin style in a square. I'll stand them up tall. I'm imagining that they'll make more than one stack. And when the rains start to fall, anytime during the winter, it's possible that I could have mushrooms to next spring. So anytime between that 6 and 12 months from inoculation, I should see my first mushroom. So pretty excited about all of that. The other thing I'm excited about is what I was able to do with the leftover branches. I bought another mushroom that's called garden giant, is what one name for it. King stropharia. Oh boy, I should have looked at that before I did this video too. It's a mushroom that's supposed to grow very well alongside vegetables and other plants in the garden. And they're supposed to grow these giant mushrooms that at their young stage are quite edible. Now, when I read something in a catalog that says that, it makes me wonder what quite edible means. Like extremely delicious, or palatable if you're hungry, you know. But either way, I'm excited because I was able to grind up, chip up all these leftover branches and mix in what is called sawdust spawn. And I, first laid down this layer of cardboard, mainly as a weed barrier, and I was able to do a mixed wood chips and sawdust spawn. Then I was able to add a layer of fresh wood chips on top of that, right? And in the future, as the mycelia kicks in and so on, and the mushrooms begin to grow, I'll be able to plant some of my plants right in the middle of them. So mushrooms and plants will be growing together. And from what I understand, this particular mushroom creates somewhat of a symbiotic relationship with the plants around it. Now, again, still learning all of this stuff, and I'm very nervous about spreading misinformation. But this is the way I've learned about it, and I'm excited to try it and see if it actually does anything. Plus, you know, it's a great way to apply a bunch of wood chips to the garden to retain the moisture and build the soil, while also including something that'll break down the wood chips faster, and it's edible. All wonderful things for me. This just makes me really excited. Well, everybody, thanks again for watching this video. I'm getting back into the swing of things, so we may or may not have a schedule. We, as in I may or may not have a good schedule on what's coming out next. Fingers crossed that we'll see things at least twice a month and build up to at least once a week. But you know, something that I mentioned in my last video, I'm working on becoming back to normal, and it takes a little bit of extra effort, and we're figuring it all out between personal things and Audrey hitting the workforce again. I'm relearning how to juggle things, and I really want to share with all of you, so I'm just doing the best I can. Thanks for sticking around, for those of you that have actually stuck around. And I'm excited to continue. And I need to say, we've passed 10,000 subscribers. You guys have shown me that I guess you like what you see. So I'm excited about that. Thank you. I like you guys that subscribed, and the ones that didn't but still like my stuff. I mean, it doesn't matter if you subscribe, but thank you. Thank you for supporting me in all of this. Thanks for supporting my family in all of this. I just don't know if I thank you enough, especially when I don't produce videos. I'm going to get back on it. I'm working towards it, and thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Until next time, thanks for taking this journey with me on Simple Ground.